All right, welcome to the latest episode of Blood Money. Today we have a very special guest, Steve Slepcevic. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on to the Blood Money podcast. So, Steve, let's just dive right into it in terms of what you do, what you've been doing for the past few decades. Just bring us up to speed on the great work that you do.
Yeah, I mean, for us, 35 years disaster management, everything from planning, pre-planning for critical infrastructure, hospitals, airports, logistics centers, basically systems that can't go down in wide area disasters, be it wildfires, be it earthquakes, be it hurricanes. And everything from Hurricane Andrew to current day, if we go to current day, we have a hurricane coming on here in Florida, but also the main response was for Hurricane Helene, which was very different for the fact that we actually staged in Tallahassee a couple days before, met with all our clients and friends and connections in the hospital networks, in the ports and the airports, and basically staging the fuel, the power generation, the base camp operations, the mitigation teams, the shrink wrap crews, the engineers, to go through these facilities and basically what we call batten down the hatches to be able to ride out these big major events, setting up the flood barriers, the board up systems. And as it happens, that hurricane took a hard right and ripped over Perry and then moved its way toward the Carolinas. And like I talked about, when you see these systems and you've worked in this emergency management response space for so many years, anybody who is in that space has no excuse. So when people from FEMA or the government said, hey, this is not what we expected, we weren't prepared for it, this was unprecedented. Yes, I get it. We understand the devastation, but we do know that knowing how to calculate rain totals, knowing how those hills flow water out in the past, those things were all information we already knew. The issue was their lack of response, the poor response into those hills. So seeing that the system was falling apart and the response was really poor, we pushed literally right from Florida right into the Carolinas. And knowing how difficult it was to get into that mountain space, knowing the terrain and what a response would look like, I reached out to one of our helicopter pilots that's worked with us since Wilmington, North Carolina, when we responded to the hospital network for New Hanover. He spun up right away and reached out to all the independent pilots in a network that he's part of and said how many birds and who can come to North Carolina. And we gave him an FOB that was very incredible, very hospitable, very welcoming. And they just opened their doors and said, hey, you have the pilots, we need the help, come on in. And so he stood that whole air operation system up and started coordinating flights. Some of the people that are true heroes were the people that you would consider average citizens. And those are the people that saw posts of missing people, those that had critical needs, such as oxygen that they were on, insulin, other medical needs. And so what they started doing was gathering that information, sending it to us. And so we pushed it through another channel that then started organizing that as incident command to take dispatch, to take that information, put all the information in it, make sure they had the next of kin to see if anybody reached out to them. And then we created a registration table where the independent helicopters, when they were landing, they'd register, they'd get a mission, and then they were sent out. We have the team of paramedics, fire rescue. A lot of these guys are some of the best that have worked for the children's hospitals as flight medics, paramedics, fire rescue. Mike Savager, for example, Miami-Dade, came in, flew a ton of missions, literally nonstop on a bird, taking different medicines to the different fire departments for them to be able to get it out to the patients out there. John Knox, LA County firefighter, incredible soul, pushing the same thing on a bird nonstop, getting into these things, also acting as a crew chief on the helicopter to make sure that the people that were getting in and out of there were getting in and out of those helicopters safely, so the helicopter operator could move real quickly and really efficiently. We also delivered just on one day alone over 500 Starlinks. So these are multiple types of missions. All, you're basically maxing out everything you can carry on that bird. As a matter of fact, just yesterday alone, also running the air ops in partnership with Samaritan's Purse, truly one of the best organizations out there. And with their team of volunteers alongside our team of experts, they've loaded 5 Chinooks full of fuel and generators and the gas cans into these areas. They've been distributing all day, every day. They even put a side by side in these Chinooks, one Black Hawk, and about 7 private aircraft we had just in that location alone, not to mention 2 other helicopter locations that are all running, all communicating. And flying these technicians, these Starlight, right? Starlink engineers, dropping them off in a remote location, coming back then and picking them up. So they would set up the Starlink and make sure that all the systems are communicating. So the beautiful thing is, in about a week's time, that entire mountain grid will have complete comms in that aspect of it. So that part was a miracle, that some amazing people showed up when the government failed, when the government didn't show up. And in a spiritual sense, it was absolutely beautiful, because what people don't understand is it's the people standing up that are showing up. And government a lot of times leads a false sense. Even these Chinooks dropping the stuff off. Thank you to them that brought the Chinooks in and pulled out some wonderful miracles. And this is some of the generals that had done some incredible things to make these things happen in this process. But it's the people that were showing up and making this thing happen. Like, from when the little birds started coming in from all over the skies and landing on this field, it was an absolute humbling thing to see. So, and the people in North Carolina, I'm telling you, these people are resilient. They're beautiful people. They're powerful. Can't tell you how many times in these EOCs and these fire departments, we're going in there and they're like, no, we're good. We got this handled. We're mountain people. We're mountain people. We got this. FEMA thinking that they're going to now, and they're going to send rescue teams in there now. They don't trust the government. This is not something that's going to happen in a small town. They're not going to allow that. Not at this time. If their trust with government has failed before they didn't trust them, they really don't trust them now. So it's been eye-opening for America to see. The off-road race community has come together, which is really cool, because they're pushing in a lot of their gear, and 30 or 40 of the top racers are pushing their stuff in to actually take supplies from these rural fire departments and push them up into the mountains. But the people that are really doing the work are the locals, man. They're there, they're strapped, they got their side by side, they know every square inch of those mountains, and they're moving products and they're taking care of their people. And it's absolutely a sight to see. These are hardcore, beautiful, passionate, kind, freedom-loving Americans, and it's just amazing thing to witness.
Steve, the whole time I'm like listening to you, and I'm like, okay, it's amazing what you're doing. Why is the government not doing what you're doing? And as a part 2 of that question, I got to tell you a little bit about my history. I was a music video director between 2000 and 2008, lit a lot of music videos, shot a lot of music videos in New Orleans. And I noticed that what you're talking about right now with Helena and what happened with Katrina, a lot of similarities. So let's slice and dice that.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. It's America thinks that they have this false sense that the government's going to do these things, and it's like, if you see the government really kind of do almost anything these days, it's an epic failure. Especially, again, I'm not going to get political, but when there's birds that are kept on the ground, there's no reason for it, and seeing how true patriots are able to make those calls and make things happen from a private sector. It's just it was there for everybody to witness. I don't have words for it. It's just how blatantly these guys have just dropped the ball, and they're not going to recover, because you know what these people did? They cut through those trees. Why did they fail?
Yeah, well, it's like they feel like, it's not like, I think about Katrina because I remember a lot of like hip hop artists were like telling me different stories about what happened there. One of the stories I've heard over and over again is that they heard explosions at the levees. And, I know we get into conspiracy theory territory. There's some people say that the levees breaking sound like an explosion, that it wasn't really explosions. But nonetheless, you have this community in New Orleans, and I'm talking about 2005, a lot of Creole individuals that were getting into these government conspiracy theories. And now you got this, what's happening here with Helena, similar things happening. I mean, what's going on here?
So, them stepping in and taking over air traffic and shutting down some of those airports, that's the wrong thing to do. When military is trying to control something, control the narrative, they're losing their grip on it because the independent pilots and the independent people actually embarrass the government on a massive level. It's there for people to see. The results don't lie. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I was a registered Democrat turned independent, and to me, when I look at how these systems work and having responded to disasters under multiple different administrations, all I can say is that the commander-in-chief of our country, compared to the results of it, and if anybody wants to reach out to me offline and wants to challenge that, listen, I'm not listening to narratives. I'm on the ground. I know what the truth is. And what makes what we do possible is every single team member. Every one of my team members, holistically, it's like all part of the fabric. None of us operate alone. There is no hero shit in our world. You show up, you do the work, everyone's focused, heads down, grind it out, here for the people, get this stuff done, and get home, right? Get in safely, make sure the team stays safe, and make sure everybody gets out, I mean, as a matter of fact, right now, we're ripping from North Carolina. We have a whole team that still stood up that's going to continue the operations with Samaritan's Purse out there. And then I'm ripping through Atlanta right now to drop one of my guys off to grab another vehicle. And then we're pushing down into the Tampa area because I have a whole team out of my Florida operations that's going to be there. They're already standing up, all the resources to be able to respond to what's coming. But people now more than ever are going, yeah, I'm not waiting on any help from the government. There's a saying that I have on my desk, and it's carved in steel, and it says, "If it is to be, it is up to me." I always say, if it is to be, it is up to me and my committed action. If anything that your listeners can do that they can take away from this is get a satellite phone. Get a satellite phone, get sat radios for your network if you're a bigger operational team like us, right? Make sure you have a plan and get training in firearms. If you can learn anything from the folks in the mountains of North Carolina, you're going to operate the same way. Watch what they didn't have. They didn't have access to clean water. Doesn't matter if they have a river running. Then make sure you have a purification system, right? Have enough food. It's getting cold in the mountains. They're going to need thermals. They're going to need, warm weather gear. Their power's out. Make sure you have a wood burning stove. If you're in those cold climates, set up a community, set up a security perimeter. Nobody comes in unless they're invited. Even when we land with the helicopter and the pilot and the paramedics and everybody's getting out with the Starlink guys, man, there'd be a side-by-side right there. Volunteer firefighter's got his sidearm. He's strapped with his comms with his radio and his network out there, and they're all communicating. They're tell me what your business here. Who are you? What your business is, and then as soon as it's done, they're like, hey, once you're wrapped up, get out of here. We don't need you here. We're good. Drop what you need to drop. We'll handle it from here and move on out. And because we're not with the government, the warm welcome that we got, as soon as they're like, oh, you're not with FEMA? You're not with the government? No, we're private. We're simply here to assist you through this process. Tell us what your needs are. And we'll report that back to the medical director, and they'll push it out to you. And that way, everybody, you're not doing redundancy type stuff, and it's getting handled. But this is what's happening. People are standing up. The experts in the world that know this space really well are working completely independent from any government organization, and honestly, simply to serve the people. We're not getting your way. We're simply taking things off so you don't have to address it. That frees up the government with whatever resources they have to go do other stuff. And for that, I'm grateful for it. The public-private partnership, people sometimes balk at it. Hey, we're not measuring here. We're simply just show up, do the work that needs to be done, and we're all in the same thing together for humanity. If you're doing anything that's not about that, and you're starting to challenge those type of things, it's no longer about humanity. It's about egos. And there's no place for egos when you're working in this space, in these type of scenarios, these environments.
I mean, who pays for something like this? You sound like you have more individuals that are doing work there than probably FEMA. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it sounds like a lot of individuals, a lot of equipment. Who's paying for this all?
So in 35 years, we've never set up a give, send, go because we're contracted, right? We're contracted with these critical infrastructures facilities and we work with them directly. In the stuff that happened in North Carolina, we clearly saw that the government wasn't showing up. There wasn't private entities up there to contract with because this was just the American people in desperate need. And so I asked my team members, you guys want to roll? And they couldn't get their hands up fast enough. They're like, absolutely, pick me, pick me. And we all jumped in and said, let's go serve. And so we set up a give, send, go to help pay for their time away from work, the fuel for the helicopters, the helicopter pilots, and a lot of them volunteered. And some of them, yet people don't understand it. Just the maintenance on those things runs like up to $500 an hour. The fuel for the bigger birds is $1,400 every time you fill it up. And so when you're running a dozen birds and you're running them on multiple locations, it adds up really, really fast. And it's been honestly very humbling for the donations that have come in, and the areas that we're end up in a shortfall. The company, as a private company, we're just going to go ahead and fund all that. But all the money that came in, all the money is going out to absolute hard costs. There is zero administration that we're paying when it comes to that type of stuff. But now, like for us now responding to this next hurricane, yeah, I mean that shifts from a humanitarian aspect of it to now prepping for these critical infrastructure clients, and then it shifts to that. But the truth is, we stepped out of that square and showed up where FEMA should have showed up. And I know that some people it's going to piss some people off, and it's not personal, but I'm telling you, if I had the opportunity to step in and really kind of work with the folks at FEMA, I could promise you that we would create a much better widget, a much better response time, a way more effective system, and a lot less waste. Man, don't get me started on that part of it, because I promise you, with the team members that I have on our group, man, we would revamp that whole thing. It would look completely different. And if we ran that, people would start trusting the government again. Not saying that I want the job for FEMA, don't get me wrong. But if that opportunity presented itself, I would be an open book, and I'd bring a whole team of experts in that have a vast amount of experience in that space. Many of them are on the FEMA task force, right? They know the systems, they know incident command, and they know waste, and they know how to streamline things to make us way more efficient with technology, resources. But the most important thing is collapse that gap, right? Shorten the time to response and do your after actions to keep shortening, keep shortening, keep shortening. Use technology, use manpower, use intel, and move your resources as fast as you can, as efficiently you can. And I promise you'll save so many lives. This operation was such an incredible experience, because seeing how the average citizen got the information in, immediately we ran those calls, and were able to provide life-saving services so fast to so many people that will never know the team members that showed up among our collective group, the volunteers that stepped up, the people in the mountains, because these things were all starting to work, and all these things were starting to come together, was just truly inspiring. It shows how to really run a system much better. And like with every event, the cool thing about what we do is we hold ourselves 100% accountable, moment to moment, moment to moment. If those other systems, they held more of an accountability type chart without being so easily offended and worried so much about optics and what it looks like, the world would be a much better place.
I mean, is that the crux of the issue? Is that they're not like, because there's a few things I'm hearing here, right? And I'm some parallels. Okay, so we had a gentleman running for office in Clark County, and he was explaining how the school board, which I think their budget's like 33 million, that he could cut that down to 1/3. He showed us budgets. He explained how he's going to do it, which is a radical. I mean, you're talking about 33% of what the current budget is. You're telling me similar things, that if you ran or helped to run FEMA, you could save a lot of money, make it more efficient, right? What is going on there that, these kind of great minds that could actually make it more efficient, that could cut through the red tape, that could save lives, Why aren't you guys running the show? Why is it that individuals that seem to be less competent than you, not only in this realm, but also in other governmental kind of realms like our school board in Clark County, why is it that there's not a higher level of competence?
I mean, that's hard to say, right? I mean, the thing is, why are they not doing it? The answer is in the question. Why are they not doing it? And sometimes when I see these guys have these massive budgets that they put out and they need to spend the money so that they can go back next year and ask for those same type of budgets, like we spent this much in disaster money, and it seems like the incentive is to continue to have more disasters and spend way more money that's necessary on these disasters to ask for increase in budgets. And all they do is they throw so many personnel and so much equipment and so many resources that are standing in these base camps, and they're standing on tarmacs, and the money that's being spent, I'm like, what are they doing? That's the worst run organization, man. If I ran my organization like that with that kind of bloated budget, man, it's super inefficient. And the system and the way that it's structured it doesn't work, man. On the private sector, we don't have that luxury, and we have 100% accountability. If we screw something up, we're sued, we're put out of business, and until you get hammered like that, you don't learn, and there's no accountability. And so many times it's politics, like who's the politician in place and who's doing what. And so all this stuff is like a lot of times is posturing rather than going, you know what, ignore all that and just go out and do the work, be efficient. There's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for this type of waste.
It's amazing. It's amazing, man, that this is even a topic of conversation right now. What do you think? I mean, we don't have to go into conspiracy theories, but there's a lot of people saying that, this could have been weather engineering. I'm hearing things like people, claiming that most of these counties were Republican, heavily voted for Donald Trump. We're hearing about lithium deposits, largest lithium deposit. What do you know about that topic that you're at liberty to discuss?
I let me tell you, I don't, the truth always comes out. Do I believe in weather manipulation? 35 years in the beginning of this, if we had this conversation, I would say 15, even 20 years ago, I would be like, nah, you got a tinfoil hat on. What I've witnessed over the last several years is stuff that I've never witnessed in my entire career. My meteorologists who I work with go, it's becoming more difficult to actually predict weather. It's unpredictable. Where it was somewhat predictable to where our forensic meteorologists would give us a very good, accurate pinpoint of where we would show up, what the system was going to behave like, and the models were quite consistent and quite good, and you could pretty much almost, for the most part, count on the accuracy of it. A lot of that's changed. And in response, even to the Maui fires, the stuff that I witnessed, which we shared with several people, and the people that live there, this is raw, unedited, no conspiracy theory stuff that happened there as a result of the wildfire, was, let's put it this way, unexplainable. Unexplainable, and that was shared among many firefighters, arson investigators, forensic scientists that work in that space of fire science, put in front of an international group of firefighters, and every one of them go, yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's impossible. I've never seen that. Where did that heat source come from? Or some of the ways some of the stuff is ramped up with some of the stuff that we've seen on models that are tracked. And it's like, yeah, that's not normal. Where's that coming from? And we've never seen that in previous models. So I don't want to really get into the conspiracy part of it, but I have to say there's a lot of questions out there that many of us are noticing in that space. The other part of it is that whenever we've seen fatalities, right, they're going to, as these off-road crews start pushing supplies from these firehouses into the mountains, and the people in the mountains with their side-by-side are doing their own work by pushing this stuff into their neighborhood. They're taking care of their own people. They're armed. They're handling all that type of stuff. But what I'm noticing in this stuff is the world's completely changed. The death count that they have, they're going to come across bodies of people that have gone through, that have try to evacuate, people that try to, make their way down the mountain, probably broken ankle, got injured, and then couldn't call for a rescue because they don't have no comms there. And if they didn't have a satellite phone or a sat radio or a bivy stick or a Garmin or something to do some sort of sat communication, people are going to find people in the woods for a long time to come. As the debris gets removed, there'll be bodies that are going to continue to be uncovered over a long, extended period of time. So, as a matter of fact, not yesterday, but the day before, the local news came out and said, we're going to stop counting the deaths until we get a better system of reporting and organizing and so on and so forth. What they're really saying is we don't want to continue reporting these deaths because these deaths are just going to keep trickling in every day in this type of environment. It's very difficult than when you go into a beach in Florida and you know X amount of miles back, you do the search and rescue grid, and pretty much you get to the end of that grid and you throw the number out. And the reality is that every major storm that I've worked, my guys, the first responders from the Coast Guards, when they're loading body bags, and their body bags in multiple choppers, not all the choppers, far exceed the numbers that the news is reporting. That's from Bolivar Island, from Hurricane Ike, or when we're sitting in Staten Island and the mayor's sitting at the bar with us, and we're watching TV as we're having a drink, and that's before I actually have that. That was Superstorm Sandy, and after that bar that night at the bar, the mayor broke down. He's looking at the numbers. He goes, "That's impossible. The bodies I have in the morgue right now far exceed that number." And he had a meltdown. But I also learned that time there's a saying in Serbian that says what a sober man thinks a drunk man says. I also learned at that time that we created a zero alcohol, any type of mind altering systems for any of our guys. It's a strict policy among all our first responders. Anytime from the moment that your wheels are up from your home destination to the time you're back out of that storm environment. And truly, it's the team that I have around me that makes all this stuff possible, because these guys are the best of the best that walk into these unforeseen areas. They trust the process. They tune into their Holy Spirit. They lean 100% in, and they simply go as they go. And what I always like to say is each one of these missions aren't our mission. They're God's missions. We simply have to tune in, and he will put us where we deserve to be. And it may be where you're taking information from somebody on a Facebook post and you're sharing that through another channel, and that channel picks it up, and that channel then puts it on a board. A helicopter pilot picks it up and is able to do a life-saving mission that they will never know that simple post got to the right source. They'll never know a family that they actually saved that person's life, that family continues, maybe not with their property being destroyed, but their lives intact, which at the end of the day is more important than all the stuff in the world, you know?
Yeah. When you're saying, in terms of we'll find out exactly what happened, the truth always comes out. And talking about these irregularities. I mean, in Maui, we saw things that were blue, not melting, but everything around it did. I mean, there was weird stuff happening there. 9/11, you've had a lot of competent engineers say there's no way those buildings could have fallen. I mean, what's your comment about these things that usually never happen in the history of humankind, but seem to be happening right now and in modern history?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it is, listen, there's definitely stuff that I feel that they have the ability to do and control. I just think that most American people are not privy to that type of intel at that level. So yeah, I mean, look, one of the best things that you could actually take a look at is look at some of the stuff that's actually occurred very recently. But yeah, I mean, as far as the blue roofs, I don't see the blue roof issue, that part of it. The blue roofs, for what I saw, were mostly from being on ground zero, were to the other side of it. There's cars that were blue that didn't burn, and then there's cars that were blue that burned, So I don't really buy into that part of it. But is there an external heat source, microwave type system that could have been used? Well, that would probably be more easily for me to explain on some of the charred bodies. That to me was just very questionable, extremely questionable, because there's no other way. There was an external heat source that did some of the stuff that I feel to the stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's unexplainable, extremely unexplainable. And I think that those that are saying these are all conspiracy theories, man, don't throw that out like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Let's just throw it out. Let's investigate it. We have great scientists. We have great people. And don't be afraid to speak up. If you're a scientist and you're an engineer and this is something you have information on it, come forth with it and don't worry about it. A lot of people are afraid of it. Listen, we're all spirit beings. We're going to die. We have a certain amount of sand in that hourglass. And when that time's up, that time's up. If you're afraid of dying and you're holding on to information, the good thing is the good thing is that you can liberate yourself by sharing the information, or it can eat you up inside and you'll form some sort of cancers. You'll die anyway. You know, so I'm thinking
Yeah.
spiritually, it's meant that if information is get granted to us, share it to the sources that make the difference, right? So the stuff I've seen, I've shared, and I've shared it in certain specific people that can do something about it, right? And if I get retaliated against, which I have in the past, so be it. Like we're strong. My family's weathered some serious storms, and I've gone through the bullshit, and I've lost everything. And one of the best things that ever happened, the hardships that God puts in our lives are welcome them. As a matter of fact, lean into them because there's so much beauty and so much to learn. And only through those type of battles and tribulations, I feel God can use me and God can use those that get handed those difficult times and those difficult times. Uh, just create amazing men, amazing women that can really serve the community. We're pulling up to a Starbucks earlier, right? And you can see some of the people, and nothing against them, but they live in a very soft, very comfortable world where if they don't get their triple filtered caramel macchiato with a certain temperature, amount of certain foam and a drizzle, they're losing their shit. They're falling apart. Um, People got to be a little more start training and start being okay with being uncomfortable, and maybe even taking courses that are grid down courses to learn how to be a little more resilient, so that if a situation does happen, their wheels don't come off and they don't become a victim in that type of vision. They become the ones that survives and actually are part of the people that are helping and assisting in those recovery efforts when those type of scenarios present themselves.
Yeah, yeah. I got to bring up your amazing wife, Tracy. I mean, it seems as though as a family, you guys are really dedicated to different facets of how to fix the corruption. I know your wife's been involved really in the scam of what the pharma industry is, this over vaccination, or, if you talk to somebody like RFK Jr. and his writing partner, Brian Hooker, who's a PhD 30-year expert in vaccine damages, they would say that we should not have any vaccines because they all are net negative when you consider what it does to large, swaths of population. Now, tell me a little bit about what is it about you guys that both of you seem to be so heavily involved? Both of you seem to be putting yourselves on the line. What's going on there?
I have to say that when you see harm being done, I mean, she's just the perfect life partner, right? When, my parents were anti-vaxxers, right? And so when my kids came along, I was like, my mom doesn't know what she's talking about. Because at 9, 10 years old, I remember coming home from school and they're telling me I need like a bunch of vaccines. And I'm like, Mom, I need to get this vaccine. And I don't want to get shots. And my mom looked at me, she goes, Sine, which means God, it means son. She goes, God make you perfect. You don't need poison in your body, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I can't go to school and tell the teachers, hey, my mom said I don't need that poison in my body. So I remember probably creating the first fake vaccine card because I copied another kid's vaccine card he was bringing back to school. And I just kind of made copies of whatever it looked like and the type of vaccine or whatever, filled out the rest of the little squares, handed it to them, and they left me alone. In turn, I vaccinated my kids. My son, which was my third child, had a severe vaccine injury, went from walking, talking, climbing, just functioning, meeting all his benchmarks, to losing his speech, eye contact, stimming behaviors, neurological disorders, and went into the abyss, full-blown autism. And the doctor's like, oh, that's normal. And my wife, who took it on like, there's no way in hell that's normal. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do whatever it takes. So with her biological background, she started doing all the research in the integrative field, got to know RFK, Andy Wakefield, all those pioneers, and just took it on. And in that process, she became a warrior mom and now just fights for the truth because of how the American people, how the pharmaceutical industry, and how the whole system is so corrupt. but it starts with something that injures somebody, especially a loved one. In my space, it went from, doing work and working with insurance companies and being that poster child to seeing the corruption from the Department of Insurance and how there was fraud and collusion going on where they were taking advantage of disaster victims. And I decided to speak out in my own sense, and I got slammed by making the front page of the LA Times because I went after an insurance commissioner for the group that, I mean, the stuff they were doing at the time was fraud and collusion. They were protecting the engineers that were writing fraudulent reports. In wildfires, they were not doing environmental testing. They weren't doing the testing of all the soot and particulate ash and dioxins that were flying into people's homes. And the kids are sleeping on the bed, ashes in their attic, and it's raining down through the can lights. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're cleaning the hospitals at this protocol. It should be the same thing in the homes. And they're like, wait, oh, this guy's talking way too much. That's going to cost us, a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars to properly clean these people's homes. And they came after me. Well, in that process, it was a really challenging time. I mean, we lost everything. I couldn't put $20 in my gas tank. And we went from from broke, from a lot to nada. But in that moment, spiritually, the growth spiritually at that time was the greatest because I was broken, right? My wife was going to bed with me when we were sleeping in bed, and she's crying, right? Like, how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to? And we sold everything that we had just to survive, just to manage things, right? And the reputation, and people like were coming after us and talking shit. But at the end of the day, the truth is this: I knew who I was. My wife knew what we stand for, and in the end, always stand in the space, stand in truth, be honest, walk moment to moment. And God's that. Listen, when those painful times come, those difficult times come, the battles, the storms, you come out better on the other end of it. And so sometimes when I tell people, you may be going through something, or you may be coming out of something, and then you're going to go back into something else. Life is temporary. You may be healthy and happy and everything's great right now, but it's only a season. All this is going to pass. So the more work we do spiritually, and even in the preparedness community, you can be the most greatest prep person in the world, and you have it all, you got it all figured out. Man, when that shit hits you sideways, like Tyson says, everyone's prepared until they get punched in the mouth or the throat, and then it's all changes. So those type of things will happen. But the spirit inside of you, man, is going to lead you. And if you're tuned in there and you're mentally, physically, and spiritually connected, and you're working through the process, and you're surrounded by a great community, you build a community around you, God can create miracles. And I feel that right there is what's the most important. And I want to just chime in 3 organizations that are incredible: Samaritan's Purse, Operation Barbecue, and the Satellite Phone Store. 3 organizations that are doing really the greatest work in these humanitarian efforts. The amount of phones and stuff, the satellite phones, the sat phone store done, and I don't get paid by them. I'm not a promoter. I'm just because they're always handing out free phones to the USAR teams, command, and they're out there really. They're like, hey, it's on us. The Operation Barbecue guys feeding thousands of people in those storm areas, the first responders, even the contractors that are out there doing the work, and then Samaritan's Purse. They're an organization which I've seen consistently on the ground for the duration of the storm. Not the other ones. As soon as the cameras are gone, the wheels are up. Not only them, but the insurance companies that show up with their trailers, their beautiful trailers, disaster command, we're here to do this stuff. And I always walk by sometimes, not always, but sometimes if I happen to walk by, and they're all chipper. We're here to help. We're, in good hands and like a good neighbor, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, you'll be gone in 2 weeks. They're like, no, we're not going to be gone. I said, you'll be gone in 2 weeks. Because these property owners are going to get their check on the 3rd week. And if your trailers are still here, they're coming out with forks and torches, pitchforks and torches. They're going to burn your trailers down because they're going to realize then that the policy that they that they bought, isn't worth the paper that it's written on. And I said, just remember my words. You'll be gone in 2 weeks. And consistently, I'm sure those people that I've talked to go, hey, we're actually gone in 2 weeks. But we'll never know because we're not part of the claims department. We're the happy-go-lucky. We got a smile on our face. We're like chipper, and we're all here to help people. Yeah, find another job. Revamp the insurance system. Revamp the government system. Hold some accountability. These profits over people it's getting sickening, my friends. It's getting sickening.
Yeah, yeah. I want to also mention, you mentioned satellite phones. So, by the way, we don't get paid for this either, but I'm going to tell you there's a link below, sat123.com. That's the company you're referring to?
That's the company I'm referring to. Yeah, Tina's
Okay, yeah.
she's in the muck, man. She's shipping phones. We're carrying phones because
Yeah.
to us, we got to be able to communicate with the other partners on the ground. And when you show up and they don't have sat phones, I'm like, hey, this is a gift, not from me, from the sat phone store. That's it. So that's cool
Yeah.
that you have their contact information for your listeners. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done some episodes with them, and again, what you guys will notice for the viewers out there is there's no code there. I don't make any money off of it. The America Happens Network doesn't make any money off of this. Really, the only thing we've gotten from the satellite phone folks is they sent us a satellite phone with a 12-month contract where, if something happens, fortunately, our network now has a couple of cell phones. Steve, the thing that, and this might be my last question, it sounds like you have a lot of expertise in this field. You have a lot of expertise in the different branches of government, what they're doing wrong, the greed, how they kind of basically try to spend every penny so next year their budget could be matched, even if it means spending money on stuff that's unnecessary. You sound definitely like an expert. What would you do to fix this nonsense? What would be the actionable steps? Should we get somebody in the White House that is willing to fix this nonsense? And I know you've been involved in, the RFK campaign, for example. I believe you were. What would you do? What would you do to fix all this nonsense?
I would bring the public and private partnerships together at the table because there's solutions that we have that they could definitely benefit from. I would create an auditing type system to audit what exactly is being done that is by a third party that's truly independent, that's not compromised. It's in that organization, there's the Fox Watch and the Hen House, So there's a lot, man. That would be a whole nother episode on what can be done and the charts and systems that could be completely revamped to make them extremely efficient. And one last thing that I want to touch upon is anybody that is in the special needs community. We do a lot there in the response side of it because the special needs of evacuations, dealing with nonverbals, people that are nonverbal, people that have special accessibility issues, medical issues. That's another area that requires a lot of proper planning. And those that are in the autism community or have somebody impacted by autism, if you're going to donate to autismhealth.com because the money goes right to those specific needs if you go to autismhealth.com. Autism Speaks, which is one of the largest organizations out there, and I'll say it like it is constantly doing research and research and research, and they're spending their money on research and research and research when the elephant is in the room and they're not addressing vaccines. As a matter of fact,
Sorry. You got cut out when you're talking about the autism group. All of a sudden, the audio cut out. I really want the viewers to hear that. So you're saying that to donate to this specific group, and then it got cut off. If you don't mind repeating what you just said.
So if anybody is in the autism community or someone that's been impacted by autism, my suggestion is go to autismhealth.com and donate there because that money goes directly to the resources, the people, the families, the doctors, the education, the people that are learning and changing the whole system. It's being reverse engineered versus the other organizations like the largest, Autism Speaks, which collects some from the biggest donors, has the big celebrity names and pictures on it, promoting it and collecting tons of money for research. They're just doing lots and lots and lots of research for so many years, yet the elephant's in the room. To me, I'm simply like, just knock it off. Pay attention and stop promoting vaccines at Autism Speaks because that is one of your biggest problems is the neurological aspect of neurotoxins, environmental toxins, and one of the biggest culprits are vaccines. So there's never been a safety study done on any childhood vaccines. And those that claim to be experts and say they're safe and effective, well, America's waking up and we ain't buying it anymore.
And, you almost know their hand when you come out with, we saw for example, there was the Tribeca Film Festival some years ago where Robert De Niro, not one of my favorite people, he was actually going to air a documentary about vaccine damage. And pretty much the world collapsed on him, and they forced him not to do it. And they kept going after individuals, like Jim Carrey and his former partner that were speaking out about the risk of childhood vaccines. I mean, they pretty much try to destroy your life, which should be indication that they're trying to cover up something. Otherwise, they would let that open dialogue happen, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, that's how you know you're over the target, right? If they're coming after you, you're over the target. Be conscious, speak truth, and just that's true. I mean, the Vax 1, 2, 3, pandemic. If people haven't seen that, Protocol 7, the new one that the doctor Mahorta put out there, C. Mahorta put out there, Do No Farm. Just people need to do the research, and if they pay attention and listen to the stream from Rescue the Republic, that was over 1 million viewers, largest rally ever on X, and hear what Dr. Malone had to say about what Japan's now testing on the replication vaccines. Man, people need to be concerned about what's coming and just pay attention to it. This is not conspiracy theories, people. These are facts of what's happening. The information's out there. Do your homework, be conscious, don't live afraid at all. Don't live in fear. Get the information, put your plan together, and then go back to work. Live your life, love your children, hug your spouses, do good in the community, pay it forward. People say, what can I do? I'm not there in Hurricane Helene. Be kind to your neighbor. Walk across the street and introduce yourself. Get to know your community, right? Help a person out in a restaurant, right? But pick up their tab. Do good. Just be kind, do good in the world. That's what we're called to do right now. Show up for others.
Wow, amazing, brother. Thank you so much for coming on to the Blood Money podcast. Is there anything in closing that you want to mention before we wrap it up? Social media, anything that you'd want to mention?
I mean, we set up a Give Said Go to cover the cost for the pilots, the fuel, the support operations for the paramedics out there, the teams that's been working out there, and then we're going to push that stuff all the way down to make sure that all that money gets used at hard costs. And there's a Give Send Go at srp24.com for the Helene operation. So if anybody has it in their heart and they'd want to donate, great. Just know that it's going to a good cause, and we are called to be good stewards of the money. And there's no waste. This is an American Red Cross. We don't do any of that type of stuff, and we're there in collaboration to serve humanity, and that's it. And that's the operation was different because it was privately led in an area where people didn't have the funding, and we just knew that the call was there for us to show up and just do the work, and that's where God led us. So the amazing team. From John Knox to Mike Saavedra to Sam Eaton to Danelle Jimenez to Tony Maziak to Brendan Byrne. I mean, these are the team leads. It's been nonstop, and it's been beautiful to see Michael Dokas and the entire support staff. Melanie Dokas, Tracy Slepcevic. I mean, the list just goes on. I could sit here for the next while and all the wives that support every one of our team members that go out there. They're incredible families, incredible people to keep the home base operational while we're deploying and just serving where we're called to serve, because of these guys and these team members have the skill set and they're called for a mission. So it's good to share with you, and thank you for being that voice of truth and sharing that information out to your audience.
Our pleasure, Stephen. For what it's worth, you got my vote for heading up FEMA. I mean, I think they need to look at you very seriously. You probably enjoy working in the private sector, but I would imagine under the right kind of presidency, I mean, you could make a lot of positive change happen. It's very clear.
Yeah, well, I will be. I hold myself 100% accountable. I will not let you down, or the American people, if that ever presented itself.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that idea. Thank you so much, Steve, and thank you for your incredible wife, Tracy, and the work that she's done in the autism field. Another thing that's plaguing us, I can't believe they're attacking our children the way they're attacking these children. I mean, people just have to look at the statistics. For the viewers out there, watch the Brian Hooker Blood Money episode that we did a little while back. RFK Jr.'s writing partner, and hear about what the actual evidence and the science says. We hear about follow the science. Well, look at the science of how these vaccines are destroying our children's future, and something that, All these things need to be addressed if we're going to build a much better country right now with the opportunity that we might have with this election. Thank you so much, Steve. And for the viewers out there, make sure you go to americahappens.com. Check out our Rumble channel, our Roku channel, our Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our X channel, all which you can access from americahappens.com. And definitely check out our latest documentary, Bundy versus Deep State, about the ongoing Bundy Ranch story and how it pertains to everything that is happening right now. Great documentary right up top on our featured section. Thank you all, and I will see you all on the next episode of Blood Money. Take care.